Well, welcome everyone to today's episode of TMI Advice You Didn't Want. We are going to be talking about some really exciting things today. We're going to be talking about the whole topic of you being able to heal your life and how a lot of people don't believe that this is possible, but we want to talk about this so that we can kind of demystify this whole process. My name is Karin Angelly. I am going to be your co-host today, and I am joined by
My name is Ashley, and I'm really excited to kick it off with this book as like one of the first episodes that we talk about because it's been huge for my life, and I know it's something that connected us as well as we were going through our journey too. So I love it. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Honestly, this book by Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. If you haven't seen it, you haven't heard of it, it is truly life changing when you read through it. It makes you kind of realize, oh wait, my life really is in my control. And I honestly had never heard of this book until you, Ashley. I think you're the reason that I actually picked it up.
Cool.
And it wasn't a new concept to me, honestly, because I had
Yeah.
already been doing a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza work and had seen people literally get out of wheelchairs at some of his events that I've been to. So this wasn't a new concept. But what I love about what Louise Hay does is she really breaks down each disease process. I think this is something that you and I refer back to all the
Mhm.
time when we're talking to people. I know, like, I work in the hospital still, right? I do anesthesia. And when I'm having conversations with my patients about what's going on with them, I'm already in the back of my brain going, what's the thought process that they had to get themselves here?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting book. And I love, like, I know you use this with your Reiki all the time too, right?
For sure. Yeah, and I think that's the really cool thing is that at the back of it it has like an easy reference point. So like this one is knee, laryngitis, and it just breaks it all down. And yeah, I definitely use it a lot for Reiki when I'm like feeling like hot spots in the body, and I can refer back to this for sure. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I
no, absolutely. And I do a lot of coherence healings with the Dr. Joe community as well. And sometimes I will feel things in my body as we're doing the healing. And I know it's like there's a connection there. And so I know, oh, there's something happening with this person in this part of their body. And so sometimes I will reference this book because, like you said, like, if this is happening in your knee, this is what's going on, and this is the thought process. This is the really special thing that she does. This is the thought process that you can start working on to help your body heal from that. Because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, they're like the thing that is creating, manifesting these things in our life, in our body, whatever, is a thought process. And I
Mhm.
feel like Louise Hay does such a good job of explaining this and how changing our thoughts can actually change our reality and change our physical health as well.
Yeah, exactly. I actually just thought of like a random story that I don't even know if I've told you about.
Oh, I'm excited. I can't wait because I have stories too.
It's been like 2 years ago. But when I met Derek, he had like really bad lower back pain where like he couldn't even put on his socks. And like still to this day, it will be something that creeps up on him and he'll have like massive flare-ups. Like just the last 3 weeks, he was limping to walk and couldn't put on his socks and struggling and all that kind of stuff. And like in Louise Hay, it's money problems.
Yeah.
And that is generational trauma in his family where like it's money stress constantly. And at one point I had a large savings account and he had sold his house and he had a large savings account, but he still had back pain and he still had money stress even though we had a lot of money between the two of us. And it's because of our thoughts, not what's actually in front of us. And he ended up going to Body Talk, I think it was a year and a half ago. And the lady had this like weird, crazy vision of this like dragon and stuff to do with his back and all this kind of really cool things. And I have no idea why this story is coming to my mind, but it is. So to me, that means we share.
Yeah, we talk.
So, yeah, she said that he was going to be the last person to have this generational trauma and that it was ending with him. And that's something that like he's been inspired by with both of us, really, because you've talked to him a lot about Joe Dispenza. And I've talked to him a lot about like all of my little things. Like I don't really have one thing the way that you do. I have lots of random stuff. And so he's really like focused on that. And right now he's going through the Law of Attraction book by Esther Hicks.
Mm,
And
good.
really focusing on money. And so he literally just said, I'm putting $100 bill in my wallet, like she recommends in that book. And every day I'm thinking of all the things I can buy with $100. And he's really working at fixing that generational trauma. And he probably doesn't even remember, because he doesn't have the greatest memory, that a year and a half ago, he was told that he was going to heal this generational trauma and not pass it on to his kids, and that he would be the last one to have it. So I don't know.
That's cool. That's like really inspiring. Because here's the thing that I've learned as I've gone on my spiritual journey is I can choose to
Mm-hmm.
stop the trauma. I
Yeah.
can choose to stop the generational thing that's been going on for years and years, or I can also allow. And that goes back to what Louise Hay talks about inside of You Can Heal Your Life. Like you can 100% make the choice that, wait a minute, my body is telling me something. Like
Mm-hmm.
my XYZ hurts. My body
Yeah.
is telling me something in this moment, and I can choose to listen to what my body is saying, or I can choose to go to the medicine cabinet and get some Tylenol or whatever. And one thing, I was reading a book yesterday. I finished this book. It's really, really good. It's basically about natural cures, right? One of the things that the author talks about is if you have a symptom showing up in your body's trying to tell you something. It's not
Mhm.
that you have a deficiency in aspirin. You have a deficiency in aspirin.
I've never heard that, but I love that.
Yeah, it's great though, right? Because it's true. Like we go to the medicine cabinet with the thought of, if I take this pill, it will help me with this symptom. But we're not thinking about what's the root cause of this. It's
Hmm.
not that you have that deficiency in aspirin. You have a deficiency in something else. And it's most likely starting in your thoughts. It's most likely that that's the piece of the puzzle that you're not paying attention to. And now your body is screaming and saying,
Yeah.
hey, look at me. It's time to pay attention. And what ends up happening is that your body will start off with, hey, I kind of am sore. I'm kind of in pain. And then the more that you ignore it, the more that you look past that thought process without actually dealing with it, your body will start to go, okay, this is really hurting. Okay, this is really hurting. And then your body really is now screaming. And maybe it's time for you to go have surgery to get this part of whatever worked on because it's so painful or so difficult. And at the end of the day, we can always look at those things before it gets to that point. Our
Yeah.
body is a beautiful thing that's literally telling us on multiple times in our life that something is out of balance, something is
Hmm.
out of whack. If I have a headache, I don't go to the medicine cabinet anymore. I
Yeah.
actually sit and I either do breathing exercises. I've learned how I can help release certain emotions in my body through breathing alone. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing, and I literally have that pharmacy inside of me.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Just to stay on track with our TMI, do you know what Caroline, or sorry, not Caroline Leaf, Louise Hay says to get rid of headaches or migraines?
Yes. You want to share? Yes. Actually, I remember I asked you recently if you tried this.
Yeah.
You gonna
So
share?
so Louise Hay shares that it's masturbation and orgasms that get rid of. Actually, I don't know. Did she say orgasms or just masturbating?
It's mostly masturbating, and here's the reason. And this is actually what I do with my breathing exercise. Because I asked you recently, hey, did you try this when you had a migraine? And you were like, yeah, it didn't really work though. But here's the process of what I do with my breathing exercises that helps me get rid of um, headaches. Is
Hmm.
I'm literally taking energy from that first center, that first energy center, your first chakra, however you want to call it. I'm taking that energy and I am pulling it up to my brain with my breathing exercise. So I think that's what she's trying to get at with the whole masturbation thing, because there's a lot of energy down there. And if we can pull that energy up into our brain and release it into our brain, that can actually help release whatever
Yeah.
is caught or stuck in this part of our body. So the whole process of masturbation, that can start it, but you
Mhm.
also have to have the focus, in my opinion, of pulling it up to your brain and not just releasing it down and out. It needs to be pulled up into your
Yeah.
brain as well, because this is exactly what I do with my breathing exercises. So,
Interesting. Yeah, it says migraine headaches, and then for headaches, it doesn't say anything about masturbation. It's just specific to migraine headaches. And it says that the problem is a dislike of being driven. Resisting the flow of life or sexual fears can usually be relieved by masturbation. And then the affirmation is, I relax into the flow of life and let life provide all that I need easily and comfortably. Life is for me.
yeah.
So,
So freaking powerful when you actually can embody those kind of
mhm.
concepts too. Because the
Yeah.
thing that I've learned also with any affirmation statements, I'm not always a big proponent for affirmations because you actually have to believe them. That's the piece of the puzzle that I feel like people don't talk about enough, is when you're looking in the mirror and you're going, I'm wealthy, but you actually don't believe it, it's
Mhm.
not going to help you at all. So, what do you believe, and how can you actually help support yourself in that belief? And as you start to believe that thought, that I am statement, now you can increase the I am statement to something else so that you're stair stepping yourself up to the whole concept of I am wealthy, and you actually can feel it and you actually do believe it at your core. And
Yeah,
so,
I agree and disagree. Because I think that a lot of the times by saying it over and over again, we're brainwashing ourselves, right? Because when we say something, our brain accepts it as truth. Like our subconscious, like that's why people say that sarcasm is so bad, like
mm,
being like, oh my gosh, you're so stupid, like, or anything like that. Because even though you're joking, your subconscious doesn't know that. So even if you're doing affirmations over and over again, your subconscious is still going to hear it. But things that I was taught years ago was that you need to engage your nervous system for it to really
mhm.
be more effective. And so
Absolutely.
when you believe it, that's kind of a step, but more than believe it is feel it. And that's something that
Absolutely.
about too.
Yep.
So even if you don't believe it, but you pretend and imagine you're feeling those emotions that you would feel, I think that's more powerful than believing it. Um,
Absolutely.
and then one other trick that I was taught forever ago was to engage your nervous system. You can snap your fingers or clap your hands or scream at the top of your lungs. And that will also physically engage that nervous system. So I used to say my affirmations while driving, and I'd be like this, saying my affirmations and engaging my nervous system that way.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's lots of different things, but doing it is better than not doing it, even if you don't believe it.
No, absolutely. But one thing for me is like it has been more helpful for me to stair step myself there.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's been way more effective than in the past when I would just be like, oh, this is like, I'm going to say this I am, or this affirmation, or whatever. And I didn't actually believe it. And when I
Mhm.
actually could go, but what do I believe?
Yeah.
Let me start there. So for
Yeah.
me, that's always been more effective in rewiring my mind.
Mhm.
And what ends up happening is I start to actually create statements that no matter what, no matter where I am, I actually can believe that. Like, for example, one of them that I've been using like all the time recently because it's so true is it always works out for me. Because it
Mhm.
does. Like, I can literally, like, when I say that thought, if I've been having a negative thought where I'm like, oh my God, our finances, or oh my God, this is happening, or this is the situation, I can literally stop myself and go, wait a minute. I'm not dead. I'm having a good time. Like, life is good. Like, really, life is good. I can
Yeah.
look back in a contemplative way and go, but it really does always work out for me. It
Yeah.
really is that way.
Yeah, I agree. And
Yeah,
I agree with you for the stair step too. And I think um the reason I said what I said is because some people don't believe any of it.
absolutely.
you get those people that when you say any kind of affirmation, they're like, oh, this is all just bullshit. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so if you don't have anything that you can start with, just start, like, and you'll eventually believe it because your subconscious will eventually believe it, even if
Yeah.
you're just saying it. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the most important pieces of the puzzle is staying consistent with it,
Yeah.
even when it feels like nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Nothing's going on. I know every time I watch somebody within the Dr. Joe community talk about how they healed themselves, how they healed themselves of diseases that you're like, that shouldn't be possible. It
Yeah.
literally it happened because they were consistent in the fact that they were meditating, so they were working on their mind in a meditative state, but they were also, and this is probably more important, when their eyes were open, they were working on their thoughts in their waking day. So,
Mm.
in a sense, they were actually meditating with their eyes open. And this
Yeah.
is something that Dr. Joe talks about all the time. And this is something that when you actually can get to a place where you can be in that meditative, cool, calm, Zen state while you're awake, while shit is hitting the fan, that's when stuff changes. That's when stuff happens in your life because literally anything could be happening to you and you're going to go, but it always works out for me because it
Mhm.
does. Because
Yeah.
it does. And that's just a beautiful thing that you can literally latch onto and go, wait a minute. I can change my mind in this minute, or I could keep thinking that negative thought. I could
Yeah.
keep doing that,
Yeah.
but I don't
I
want to.
agree. Well, I think I told you that my new mantra is, instead of saying like everything works out for me, is what's the best that could happen? Because people are like,
Absolutely.
what's the worst that could happen? But you're
Right.
literally writing the worst to come to you. So it's like, what's the best that could happen? And I'm just learning to like let things go on a deeper level and be like, whatever's the best thing is going to keep happening. Because yes, things have been working out, and some of my biggest dreams I've ever had have come true.
Hmm.
And like me living in my van, that was like a 4-year project. That was crazy how it all worked out. But right now I've been in a place for the last 3 years where it's been mostly just like everything's working out. I'm ready for the best thing to
Mm.
happen. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm so on board with that. I love that so much. And then as far as like coming back to like the whole Louise Hay thing and like healing our lives and or healing our body in our life, because let's be
Mhm.
honest, our body is truly a representation of what's going on internally. And
Yes.
this might be advice you don't want, but here's the thing, like when you can look at yourself in that objective manner and go, oh, yeah, I did do that to myself. I did create that in my life. You will start to open and unlock doors for yourself. So you start to realize that you are actually in control. You are the
Yeah.
creator of your life, and you don't
Yeah.
have to be that victim anymore.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's what I love about all the lists of things that are like ailments with the like fear that is attached to them, and then the affirmation,
Mhm.
because the fear is actually the most powerful thing to read. I have
Yeah.
sat like at my couch where I'm talking to people. I'm like, well, let's pull this book up. You're talking about something that is going on. And I'll pull it up and they're like, holy shit. Like that hit the nail like on the head, like 100%. And so that has happened with so many people. And I think that's what makes this book so powerful, is because you usually, like, I flip through a book before I actually dive in. So I read that part first, and I went to things that I had struggled with like earlier on in my life, or that have been reoccurring in my life, and it was like, oh man. And then everything she says is way more power because she's already hit your fear like straight on. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and if you're willing to listen to it too, because that's the piece of it that is so incredibly important, that we actually can be objective with ourselves and go, okay, I am doing that, and being honest with what's going on inside you.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the hospital, just out of curiosity, what is like the biggest thing that you're seeing right now?
Oh
Oh,
man, that is a Very loaded thing. But one thing that I will say that happens probably more often than anything else is digestive issues. Whether it's a
Mm.
gallbladder, whether it's somebody's getting a endoscopy or a colonoscopy because they have abdominal pain. These are probably the most common things that I see on a regular basis. Like this is like general. We have these kind of cases every day where somebody is getting a gallbladder out or somebody's having a colonoscopy or an endoscopy or whatever. We literally have those kind of procedures every single day. So it's interesting because I do think that this shows the connection between the mind and the gut. There's such a huge connection that's there. And actually, there's brain cells in your gut as well. So, something to think about is whatever you're thinking, your gut is also processing that as well. And so, when I have patients like that, literally I'm like, what's going on in your life? Like, what are the thoughts that you're thinking? And sometimes you can talk to people quickly and you can see, oh, they are a nervous Nelly. They need to calm down. Like, I can see them like processing everything that I am saying with eyes wide and going, oh my God, I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna die. Like, and they're going to the worst case scenario in their thoughts, and it's creating this turmoil in their gut and in their body. So I'm
Yeah.
curious what Louise Hay has to say.
Well, two things first. So one, my naturopath doctor says like you cannot do anything while you're eating. Like you
Mm,
do not be distracted. You do not want negative things around you. Like sit down at the table, no distractions, eat your food,
yep.
and like even just the whole like praying before your food. Like it's all like all this positivity going around like for your mealtime. And then Leaf, Dr. Caroline Leaf, the neuroscience scientist, she is not woo woo at all, in my
Right.
opinion. Like she's
No, she's not.
Christian and Western medicine, not woo woo at all. And she says that when you think about something and you're eating, that is translating into your food. So if you're thinking about something positive, your food is going to be nourishing
Yep.
and fuel and good energy. And it doesn't matter what you're eating, whether it's an apple or a chocolate bar. But
Yep.
if you're thinking negative thoughts and fearful thoughts while you're eating an apple, that's going to poison that apple. And so
Mm,
you're actually poisoning your body just because you're what you're thinking about while you're eating. So
mm-hmm.
so stomach problems is dread, fear of the new, inability to assimilate the new. So that's fair. Lots of people hate change.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people do. And this is like something that I've been saying recently is I tend to like change externally to me. Like I like going to new places. I like experiencing new things. So the external change I love. The
Mhm.
internal change isn't always easy and it's not always something that I want to process at all times. So
Yeah.
that's something like think about that for yourself. Do you like change? And if you say, "Yeah, I absolutely love change." I'm that person. I love change. I think it's fun. I think it's an adventure. But when it comes to the internal, think about that for a second. Do you like internal change? That's
My
not
gut
always an easy
answer is
process.
yes, but I don't know. Like my gut answer would be yes.
So, your brain, think about this for a second. Your brain wants to keep you safe.
Oh, for
So,
sure.
so if
Yeah.
you've never done something before, your brain's first thought, subconscious is
Yeah.
that's not safe. I shouldn't do that. This is
Yeah.
like from a neuroscience
Oh,
perspective, right?
definitely. Yeah.
So your brain is trying to keep you safe. So
Mhm.
that is just something that's hardwired into each and every one of us, whether you're male, female, woman, child, doesn't matter. It's hardwired into us. So that's the reason that change isn't always easy.
Yeah.
Now, will I say that I want to have change? Absolutely, because I know that the
Mhm.
change that I create in my life is going to create multitudes more than I've already created. Yes, absolutely. But
Mhm.
during the change, my brain and my body are bucking. It's like, no, this isn't normal. This isn't what we normally do. I mean, we are so on autopilot in our day. Think about this for a second. When you jump in your car, Do you think about how to drive the car?
Yeah, no, I completely know what you're saying. And I think that that's what we were talking about last week, I think, with
Mhm.
how that's what makes healing generational trauma so hard because it's our normal, it's we that our autopilot.
Yeah.
And then to try to change that, the brain's like, oh my gosh, you can't
This
do
is
this. And
new.
it's
Yeah.
not working and all this kind of stuff. So, yes, 100% neuroscience there. I think that for me and even for yourself, I have done so much work and I have taught myself that there is good on the other side of it.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
for me, I don't hit that same resistance
Right.
anymore.
Right.
And I also think that when I started doing stuff, like my first thing I ever did was was Dr. Caroline Leaf's journaling from Switch
Hmm.
On. And I think that I was in such a desperate place after my horrible, messy divorce that, well, the divorce wasn't messy, the marriage was. Um, that's pretty easy. Um, and so I think that it helped escalate that and not keep me in that like fear of that response and keeping me safe because I was so unsafe in that
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
And so, and then hers is so guided. And that's what we talked about last week too, is find something where you have easy steps to follow, or you have
Yes.
someone being a sounding board. So I kind of had those advantages. And then after that, it was like, oh, when I do things like this and learn it, I get a reward. And so I've
Mhm.
started to train my brain that there's rewards on the other side of that uncertainty. So
Yeah, most definitely. So
yeah.
I have a story and I don't know how long it's going to take. So I want to make sure that this story gets in because this
Sure.
is like a holy crap, this
Mm.
person healed their life plus some. Okay? So um I can't even I still can't believe this. After I heard that this was a possibility, I still can't believe this because this is not something that is normal in traditional medical science. When somebody
Yeah.
says that they do this, this does not happen, period, end of story. Okay. So
I've heard it.
so this lady who's in the Dr. Joe community, she had a lot of crap going on with her stomach, right? She basically said that at a certain point, like she would eat something and it would just kind of flow through her. So come to find out, she ended up having stage 4 colorectal cancer, right? So
Wow.
and that's not a pretty diagnosis. Like that's a really like scary diagnosis to be completely honest. So the doctors are like, we need to go in and we need to operate ASAP. Like this is no, like there's no question about it. And she was like, actually, no, I can heal my life. And that was her first thought. Like, I can heal my body. And she's like,
Like
I created this. Yeah. She's like, I know I created this. I know I can heal it. And the doctors were like, this is stage 4 colorectal. The possibility, like, of people healing
mhm.
themselves from this is not like this doesn't happen kind of thing. So
Yeah.
she's like, okay, well, I know I can heal myself. So she does go through with some of the things that they suggest. So they're kind of like, okay, we need to start chemo. We need to do an operation ASAP. She's like, well, I don't want to do the operation right now. And they're like, okay, well, just get on the chemo at least. So she gets on the chemo. She starts doing that whole deal. And they finally get her after a couple months of back and forth with her. They finally get her to do the surgery for her gut. She said when she came out of that surgery, she knew immediately that she had made a mistake. That
Mm.
immediately this was something that I should not have done this. She woke up with an ostomy bag, which is basically a poop bag on the side of your body.
Yeah.
And she said that eating, she was like, that got worse. Like, I literally would put something in my body and it was out of me immediately. She said she was losing weight like crazy. She couldn't keep anything in her system.
Mhm.
So, what ended up happening, she's like, I still think I can heal myself. So she really dove into Dr. Joe's work. She started meditating. She started changing her thoughts. This was the most important piece that anyone that ever does any kind of work whether
Mhm.
it's meditation, whether it's affirmations, whether it's journaling, it doesn't really matter. But she said she went straight to, what am I thinking? What are my
Mhm.
thoughts? And so
Mhm.
she's meditating and she's working on the thoughts that she's thinking on a regular basis.
Mhm.
So this gives me goosebumps that she did this. So she was able to have complete remission of her stage 4 colorectal cancer. But the thing that really blows my mind, and she did that through all of the work that I said, her thoughts, her meditation, that whole deal. That was the how. But what
Mhm.
is so unexpected and so mind blowing that she did this. So, when you have colorectal surgery, a lot of times they take out a lot of your intestines. They took out a ton of her rectum as well, right? So, she doesn't have a lot of these things in her body anymore.
Yeah.
She said she started to grow her rectum back.
Yeah.
She grew a freaking rectum. That's not a thing that happens. I've
Yeah.
also heard stories of people that have grown a thyroid
Oh
back.
wow.
Yes.
Hmm.
So you have pieces of your body taken out and you're like, "Well, is it possible that I can grow this back? Is there a possibility in the universe that I could grow this back? It was in my body in the first place.
Yeah.
What if I could grow it back?" And I haven't met this person yet. I'm sure I will at some point because I meet some really cool people every time I go to these meditation retreats. But she said that she has grown her thyroid back in a lot of her testimonials. And there's another person in the community who's like, huh, if this person can grow back her rectum and this person can grow back her thyroid, I wonder if I can grow back my gallbladder. I
Yeah.
had my gallbladder taken out years ago. I wonder if I can grow that back.
Yeah.
There's like the possibility is truly endless for what we can do, and we don't always believe
Mhm.
what we are actually capable of. We don't understand how unlimited we actually are and how much of a creator of our own life we really are until we
Yeah.
start to like wrap our brain around, oh my God, this person did it. I wonder if I can do it.
Yeah.
That tends to be the first step for people.
Yeah, like, I don't even know, like 5 years ago or more. So when I broke my neck, they said that it like shattered, but was crushed on impact. And that was the reason I didn't die because the shattering alone would have killed me. But because it crushed it, it like held my neck bone, whatever. I'm not, you're gonna be like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
it's okay.
saying it all.
We don't need to dissect
Yeah.
that.
And so, but now my bone is smaller than it should be. And so that hunch on my back and my posture is really hard because that bone is also smaller. And so I've always been like, one day I'm going to focus my energy on that. It isn't a big deal right now, but one day I'm going to work on that and it's going to be normal and I'm not going to have any hunchback at all anymore. Um, Similar idea with Derek. He had a vasectomy and we want to have a kids, not sure. And so we've been kind of just waiting for everything to be done with court because doing both at the same time is not enjoyable. And so I think he said it like a year and a half ago. He's like, yeah, I'm just working on like meditating that I'm not going to need surgery again. It's going to reattach itself and we're going to be golden because for him to have that surgery is $6,000 recovery time and all that kind of stuff, more painful than the last.
Yeah, it's
And
not fun.
um, yeah, so he's like, yeah, I'm just going to meditate my way through it and I won't need the surgery. So
Yeah,
yeah, and once you kind of get on that thought process, it's like, what else can I do?
yeah,
And there's people that manifest everything in their life and they call it different things, whether it's meditation or I can't remember what the one is called. From the most extraordinary mind, but there's so many different things that you can do, but really at the end of the day it's just because you are powerful and you design your life.
yeah. And honestly, like, I hope this is advice that you do want. You are more
Yeah.
powerful than you think you are. You're more
Mhm.
unlimited And there
Mhm.
is more possibility in your little pinky than you
Mhm.
even know is possible. So I hope that if you hear nothing else from today's episode, that you hear that you have so much possibility inside of you and that you can grow and you can change to a beautiful human being that can manifest whatever it
Mhm.
is that you desire in your life.
Yeah. I think there's only really three reasons that someone wouldn't. And one is that you're fearful of living your wonderful grand life that you can, because we're afraid of success. That's one of the biggest fears, really. Or you've been building insecurities that you're less than, that you're not good enough for so long that you don't believe that you're powerful. Or kind of similar to that, but it's different, being so much of a victim, where
Hmm.
it's um if you accept that you're powerful, you no longer can play the victim card.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
think those are the only three things that if you're like resistant to that, maybe unpack it and be like, which one is it that's showing up in my life? Or maybe it's a different one that I don't know of, but
Hey,
yeah.
there's so many possibilities out there. But with that, I think that we can call this episode of Tea and My Advice You Didn't Want a wrap. And
Yeah.
as a reminder, if you are listening to us on your favorite podcasting place, then leave us a 5-star review if you loved us. If you didn't love us, then just take your finger away from the button and move on. It's okay. You don't have to say anything. We still love you. And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and share some comments with us. Like this video because we would love to create more for you. Honestly, I think at the end of the day, we just like talking about this stuff. So, really, you're probably not going to shut us up regardless. So, just love, that's all we want. So, but with that, can't wait to talk about more of this stuff with you, Ashley. So, until next time,
Have a good day.
bye.